Do you ever feel like you're watching the world in ultra-high definition while everyone else seems to be looking at a blurry, low-resolution screen? You're in a friendly conversation, but you can feel the unspoken tension crackling in the air. You're watching a presentation at work, and you notice the tiny, almost invisible flinch when the presenter mentions last quarter's numbers. It's a flicker of an eye, a slight hesitation in their voice, but to you, it speaks volumes. Your friends and colleagues carry on, completely oblivious to the signals you're picking up. They might even say your name, and you snap back to their reality, feeling like you've just returned from a different dimension. This experience of seeing more, of feeling the texture of a situation, can be incredibly isolating. You might spot a subtle lie in a compliment that everyone else accepts as genuine. You might hear the real question hidden beneath a casual one. It's like having an extra layer of sensory input that no one else seems to possess. People have probably told you that you're just overthinking it. They've likely said you're being too sensitive or reading too much into things. But what if you're not? What if you're not overthinking, but are actually processing the world at a much higher resolution? If any of this sounds familiar, this video is the explanation you've been looking for. We're going to decode the psychology behind why you're truly seeing what almost everyone else is missing. Stay with me, because what you learn today will change how you see yourself. This ability to perceive hidden details isn't a magical power or some kind of psychic gift. It's a distinct cognitive style, a different way your brain is wired to operate. And for many who have it, it's both a blessing and a burden. It can feel confusing and lonely when you're the only one in the room who sees the elephant or the subtle cracks in the foundation. Heightened perception isn't a superpower, but is instead a different cognitive operating system. And like any operating system, it's built on a set of core programs running in the background. Understanding these programs is the key to understanding yourself. In this video, we're going to install a clear framework for you to understand this ability. We'll break down the 4 pillars of deep perception, the psychological skills that allow you to notice everything. We'll explore advanced pattern recognition, which is how you connect the dots. Then we'll dive into high emotional acuity, your ability to read people. After that, we will examine your aversion to heuristics, which explains your deep thinking. And finally, we'll uncover the 4th pillar, systems thinking, which is the incredible skill that ties it all together, explaining how you can see the entire big picture before anyone else. This last pillar is the key that unlocks the full potential of your perception. I'll also give you a practical guide on not just how to sharpen this ability, but also how to manage the challenges that come with it. By the end, you'll feel validated, understood, and equipped. So let's begin with the 1st pillar. The 1st pillar is advanced pattern recognition. Now, every human brain is a pattern recognition machine. It's how we learn language, navigate our environment, and make sense of the world. But for a highly perceptive person, this machine is running on an upgraded processor. Think of it this way. Most people connect the dots when they're close together and clearly labeled. But you see the constellation when the stars are faint and spread across the entire sky. This is because your brain has a wider aperture for data. You're not just taking in the obvious information, you're subconsciously logging seemingly random details. You're collecting offhand comments, minor changes in routine, small statistical anomalies, and fragments of conversations. While others discard these as noise, your mind stores them away, constantly searching for connections. This process is often happening just below the level of conscious thought. It manifests as a gut feeling or a sudden moment of clarity where everything just clicks into place. For instance, imagine you're at work. A project is running smoothly and everyone is optimistic. But you noticed your manager made a vague comment about budgetary headwinds in a meeting 3 weeks ago. Then you saw a memo about a small hiring freeze in a different department last week. And this morning, the project's most enthusiastic team member seemed unusually quiet and disengaged. For others, these are three completely unrelated events. For you, they are data points on a trend line. Your brain connects them, and you suddenly realize the project is about to have its funding pulled or be dramatically downsized. You see the outcome weeks before the official announcement, not because you're a pessimist, but because you recognize the pattern in the system. This applies to your personal life too. You might notice a friend starts using a new phrase they've never used before. A week later, they mention a new podcast they're listening to. Then they change their profile picture to something more adventurous. To others, these are just random life updates. But your pattern recognition engine connects these dots and predicts a major life change is coming, like a career shift or a move to a new city, long before they've even admitted it to themselves. It's this ability to synthesize disparate information over time that forms the foundation of deep perception. So when you have that nagging feeling that something is off or that a certain outcome is inevitable, you're not being anxious. Your brain is simply finishing an equation that others haven't even started. But recognizing patterns in data and events is one thing. Recognizing them in the intricate and often hidden world of human emotion is a completely different skill, and it's what we'll cover next. This brings us to the second pillar, High Emotional Acuity. This is the people-reading aspect of your ability, and it's far more scientific than it sounds. It is not mind-reading, but rather high-speed emotional data processing. Emotional acuity is the skill of perceiving, interpreting, and understanding the subtle, often involuntary signals that reveal a person's true emotional state. While most people hear the words being said, you are also listening to the music underneath. You're picking up on micro-expressions, those fleeting facial movements that last less than a fraction of a second and betray a hidden feeling. You're analyzing shifts in vocal prosody, the pitch, tone, and rhythm of someone's voice. You're noticing the dissonance between their expansive hand gestures and the tension held in their shoulders. Your brain processes all these channels of information simultaneously. Think about the classic scenario. You ask a friend or a partner, "Is everything okay?" They reply with a smile and say, "I'm fine." Now, most people will take that statement at face value and move on. The social contract is fulfilled. But you didn't just hear the words, "I'm fine." You saw the smile didn't quite reach their eyes. You detected a half second of a frown before the smile was put on. You heard their vocal pitch drop by a nearly imperceptible degree on the word "fine." And you noticed their posture did not relax, but instead tensed up. Your brain processes this conflicting data in a millisecond and concludes that they are, in fact, not fine. This isn't a judgment, it's a data-driven conclusion. This is why you often know someone is upset, anxious, or hiding something long before they're ready to talk about it. It's an incredible tool for empathy and connection, allowing you to support people in ways they might not even know they need. It gives you a deeper understanding of the human dynamics in any group, whether it's your family or your team at work. You can sense the unspoken alliances, the hidden resentments, and the true centers of influence. This constant stream of emotional data can be overwhelming, but it also gives you a rich, nuanced view of the social world. So when you sense that hidden emotion, you aren't being overly sensitive or dramatic. You are simply fluent in the nonverbal language that most people only speak in broken sentences. And if you're someone who feels things this deeply, if these first two pillars are resonating with you on a personal level, consider subscribing to the channel. We're all about breaking down the psychology of everyday life to help you understand yourself and the world better. Your support helps us create more content just like this. Now, before we move on to the third pillar, I'm curious, which one of these resonates more with you so far? Seeing the data patterns or feeling the emotional ones? Let me know in the comments below. Okay, so we've established that you gather more data through pattern recognition and emotional acuity. But what you do with that data is just as important. This brings us to our third pillar, a natural aversion to heuristics. Heuristics is a term psychologists use for mental shortcuts. They are the simple, efficient rules that our brains use to make quick judgments and solve problems without having to do a lot of deep thinking. For example, if it's expensive, it must be good quality is a heuristic. Trust the expert is another. These shortcuts are essential because without them, we'd be paralyzed by analyzing every single decision. They are the brain's autopilot mode. However, highly perceptive people have a faulty autopilot. You are instinctively more likely to reject these common shortcuts and analyze situations from first principles. While everyone else is taking the convenient, well-trodden path of conventional wisdom, you feel a compulsive need to go off-road and examine the terrain for yourself. This is the very engine of what people call overthinking. Let's take a common example. A major news story breaks with a sensational headline. The consensus in your social media feed forms within minutes. Most people read the headline, accept the general narrative it presents, and adopt that opinion. That's the heuristic of social proof and authority at work. It's efficient, but your mind doesn't do that. You instinctively start asking questions. Who wrote this article? What is the bias of the publication? What facts are being highlighted? And more importantly, what facts are being left out? You might open 3 or 4 other tabs looking for the original source data or reports from different perspectives. You're not trying to be difficult or contrarian. Your brain is simply uncomfortable accepting a pre-packaged conclusion. It demands to build its own conclusion from the raw materials of fact and evidence. You are stress testing the information. This process is slower, more energy-intensive, and can sometimes lead to analysis paralysis. But it also means your opinions are more robust, nuanced, and genuinely your own. You're less likely to be swayed by popular opinion, propaganda, or clever marketing. So, when people say you're overthinking a decision or a situation, what's really happening is that you are refusing to use the same mental shortcuts they are. You're manually flying the plane while they're on autopilot, and that allows you to see things from a perspective they can't. You are not overthinking, but are instead deep processing. And this deep processing is crucial for our final pillar. We now arrive at the fourth and final pillar, the one that ties everything together, systems thinking. If the other pillars are about collecting and analyzing data, systems thinking is about building the complete model. It's the ability to step back and see how all the individual parts of a system influence one another over time. It's moving from seeing the players on the board to understanding the entire game. A system can be anything: your family, the company you work for, a friendship group, or even an economic market. Most people see events in a linear cause and effect way. A happened, so B happened. But a systems thinker sees a web of interconnected feedback loops. You understand that A influences B, but B also loops back to influence A, and both are being affected by C and D in ways that aren't immediately obvious. This is where your other abilities converge. Your advanced pattern recognition picks up the faint signals and trends. Your high emotional acuity reads the human emotional undercurrents that drive behavior within the system. And your aversion to heuristics forces you to look past the easy answers and see the deep underlying structures. Let's use an example of a relationship. A couple has a big fight over finances, and their friends might say they're fighting about money. That's a simple, event-based observation. But you, as a systems thinker, see more. You noticed a pattern where one partner consistently talks about future dreams while the other talks about present security. You picked up on the emotional subtext of resentment from one and anxiety from the other during casual conversations. You rejected the simple heuristic that all couples fight about money and looked deeper. You see the whole system: a communication breakdown, mismatched core values, external family pressures, and a feedback loop where financial anxiety causes emotional withdrawal, which in turn causes more anxiety. So, when the money fight happens, you see it not as the cause of the problem, but as an inevitable symptom of a system that has been unstable for months. This is what it means to see the big picture. It's the ability to predict second and third order consequences. It's why you often have insights that seem to come out of left field, but end up being uncannily accurate. You are not just looking at the snapshot, but are instead watching the whole movie. Okay, so we've covered the what. We've broken down the 4 pillars: pattern recognition, emotional acuity, anti-heuristics, and systems thinking. Let's talk about you. How do you live with this cognitive operating system every single day? Because this ability, as powerful as it is, can come with significant challenges. It can lead to cognitive overload, analysis paralysis, and social friction when you see things others don't. Seeing what others don't can be a lonely vantage point. So, how do we make this practical? Let's break it down into 2 parts: how to hone the skill and how to manage the burden. First, honing the skill. Your perception is a muscle. To strengthen it, you need to use it with intention. Start by journaling your observations. When you get a strong gut feeling about a situation or person, write it down in specific detail. What did you see? What did you hear? What was the pattern you noticed? Then check back on it later. This calibrates your intuition and helps you distinguish true insight from simple anxiety. Second, practice stating your reads with qualifiers. Instead of saying, "You're upset with me," which can put someone on the defensive, try, "I'm sensing there might be some tension. Did I misread that?" This turns your perception into an invitation for connection, not an accusation. A great rule of thumb is this: don't just trust your intuition. Interrogate it. Ask it to question it and make it show you the evidence it used. Now for the second part, which is just as important: managing the burden. First, you must establish information boundaries. Just because you can analyze everything doesn't mean you should. Give yourself permission to not have a nuanced opinion on everything. Learn to consciously trust a good enough decision on low-stakes issues to conserve your mental energy. Second, find your intellectual peers. The feeling of isolation often comes from being the only one in your environment running this software. Seek out friends or online communities where deep conversations are the norm. Finding your people is the antidote to feeling like an outsider. Finally, practice communicating your insights with compassion. Remember that while you may have already seen 10 steps ahead, everyone else is still on step 1. Share what you see, but do it gently, as a guide, not as a judge. So let's bring it all together. The ability to notice what others don't isn't a single trait. It's a symphony of cognitive skills playing in harmony. It's the advanced pattern recognition that connects the disparate dots into a meaningful constellation. It's the high emotional acuity that reads the silent language of human feeling. It's the aversion to heuristics that pushes you to dig for the truth instead of accepting the easy answer. And it's the systems thinking that allows you to assemble all those pieces into a complete, dynamic picture of reality. So no, you're not just overthinking or being too sensitive. You are processing the world at a higher resolution. You are running a different kind of cognitive software, one that is perfectly adapted for a complex and nuanced world. What you might have seen as a burden, a source of anxiety or isolation, is in fact one of your greatest assets. It allows you to be a more empathetic friend, a more insightful leader,
and a wiser navigator of your own life.
Your perception is your power.
It's the lens that allows you to see the truth, the beauty, and the complexity that others miss.
Own it.
Trust it, and use it to make your corner of the world just a little bit clearer. Heightened perception isn't a superpower, but is instead a different cognitive operating system. If you enjoy breaking down the psychology of everyday life and gaining a deeper understanding of how your mind works, I'd love for you to join our community by subscribing to the channel. We post new videos every week designed to give you these kinds of insights.
Thank you so much for watching.